Play the most brutal shooter of the year. Warhammer 40k Darktide is the much-anticipated co-op action shooter from an award-winning team of developers. Available now on PC.
In the back streets and the forgotten sublevels. In hive cities like Tertiary.
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we'll be looking at the top tips and tricks to get started in Warhammer 40k Darktide.
If we fail, the Imperium falls with us.
For this list, we'll be giving you some need-to-know hints before heading into one of the most anticipated games of 2022. What are you looking forward to most in Warhammer 40k Darktide? Let us know in the comments below. Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Picking your class.
The Veteran Sharpshooter, the Zealot Preacher, the Ogryn Skullbreaker, and the Psyker Psychonetic.
As soon as you start up Darktide, the first choice you are given is probably one of the most important, deciding which class to go with. Each class has their own unique traits and skills which you'll use to fight off against the endless waves of enemies. The Psyker Psychonetic is an excellent pick for those who want to take out enemies with powerful ranged psychic AoE abilities, while those who want to take out enemies from afar with precision gunshots, the Veteran Sharpshooter is the class for you. Players who prefer more in-your-face combat should pick the crit-dealing Zealot Preacher or the incredible tank-like behemoth, the Ogryn Skullbreaker. Character creation. Following on from Fat Shark's award-winning Vermintide 2, one of the most impressive new features in Darktide is the extensive character creation. After picking your class, you'll be able to customize a range of features of your character, such as their face, scars, and even tattoos. You'll also be able to select your character's voice and origin, which will affect things such as your character's personality, as well as what your character will say in-game. For those of you planning to play with friends right from the get-go, we advise you to each put aside some time to get your characters just right.
Just another day in the Imperial Guard.
Mission Terminal and the Mourningstar Hub. Once you've created your character, you'll be thrown right into the prologue. Following that, you'll be able to explore the Mourningstar Hub. Here, you'll be able to do various things, such as acquire new weapons and armor, add your friends to the squad, hone your skills on the training grounds, and much more. But for those that want to get right into the action, they should beeline straight for the Mission Terminal. Here, you'll be able to select from a variety of missions that are on a rotation timer, or just go straight into quick play. For beginners, we recommend you to not overestimate your abilities right away and select a stage with a level 1 or 2 difficulty. Beware of the special conditions that'll pop up every once in a while and modify missions. How does playing the mission in Total Darkness sound? Or maybe packs of extra poxhounds? You're in for a real treat. Dealing with hordes of enemies. As you battle your way through the various stages in Darktide, one of the most common enemy types is the grouped-up hordes. While taking on these enemies, we heavily advise players to switch out their guns for their close-range melee weapons. Doing so will not only save you a lot of ammo, but also help you take down multiple of them in one swoop. Another great way to deal with them before they can get too close is to take out multiple at once with a trusty grenade.
Now you can use the elevator.
Stick close together. It can often be tempting to stray away from your group when you spot something of interest, but this is probably the biggest mistake newcomers to Darktide can make. Darktide is first and foremost a cooperative game, meaning you and your team need to work together and close.
Enforcers don't leave comrades behind!
Though there are clear paths to travel in the game, some spaces are quite open, and if everyone's covering different sections, that could leave you battling it out on your own. And the last thing you want is to be pinned down by an enemy with your teammates too far away. Staying in close proximity to each other also gives significant buffs to each player. These are called coherency bonuses and vary for each class. They can range anywhere from your character getting higher melee damage to gaining increased toughness. Healing.
Recharge that thing!
You might find yourself with low health quite often in Darktide's tougher levels, but remember that heals are a finite resource in this game, so knowing when to use them is key. Once more, deciding who between you needs healing most is one of the most important aspects in the game.
Recharge that thing!
The main source of healing is through a terminal, but before using it, make sure you find a power cell that can grant additional healing for your party. Another thing to keep an eye out for is the healing kits, which, when deployed, will heal you and your teammates by standing in its immediate vicinity. This circles back to our previous tip of sticking together, as if you're too far away, you'll be getting none of those heals.
The infantryman's primus says he's a god. That's good enough for me.
Tagging enemies, ammo, and healing items.
Headshot, not bad.
One of the most useful things you and your teammates can utilize is the tagging feature. With this, you can mark various things throughout the game to quickly let the others know. Tagging enemies is a given, as it'll highlight to everyone key targets that need to be taken out quickly before things start to get real chaotic.
Right, cozy little place this is. Who the hell lives here by choice?
As Darktide has a heavy focus on guns, ammo is an extremely important resource, so be sure to tag any that you see that you don't need for yourself, otherwise your team is soon going to find themselves with no bullets to shoot. Players are only able to hold one of certain items, such as healing kits, so if you're already holding one, be sure to let your teammate know of any others you find so you can reap the benefits. Replaying missions. Going back and replaying missions is a great way to obtain more experience and weapons, and developer Fatshark has made some huge improvements in comparison to its predecessor, Vermintide 2. One of the best new features in Darktide is the separation of missions and objectives. This means every time you replay a mission, you'll be going through new scenarios and encounters. Not only will this make replaying missions fresh, but also help you get more used to the game on some of the lower difficulty missions. Covering your teammates. Poor teamwork can be the biggest detriment to your Darktide experience. It pays to be selfless during your missions, and if you're not looking out for your teammates, they certainly won't be looking out for you. We recommend keeping tabs on your teammates' health throughout the mission, as they can lose the majority of it without even realizing.
Help! No laying around, priest.
Throughout the stages, players will come across mini-games that will render either them or their teammates vulnerable to the enemy's attacks, so be sure to create a formation around them to cover them. This is also the case for when reviving downed teammates, as both players involved will be highly susceptible to damage. Understanding enemy types. Throughout the game, you'll encounter special enemy types that pack a whole lot more punch than your average horde. One of the frequent enemy types you'll face early in the game is the Poxhound, a dog-like creature that'll take any opportunity to pounce on both you and your teammates. Another is the bulky mutants that will have no problem in grabbing and slinging you around. You'll also come across variant scab enemies, such as the Scab Sniper, who will take potshots at you from a distance, and the Scab Mauler, a tough enemy completely covered in armor. The most difficult enemy we faced so far was the Plague Ogryn, a boss monster with an insanely high health pool that'll require a lot of ammo to take down. Understanding the different enemy types is the answer to clearing your way through Darktide's challenging missions, so make sure you have adequate knowledge on which is which and how to best combat them.
If you don't consider him on Terra to be a mutant, how do you define me so?
Play the most brutal shooter of the year. Warhammer 40k Darktide is the much-anticipated co-op action shooter from an award-winning team of developers. Available now on PC.